Ciao Interisti, welcome back to another episode of the Pazza Podcast. This week, coming after a very boring, very stale, very routine, I guess, performance versus Verona in a 1-0 win at the Giuseppe Meazza. We're going to talk about that a little bit and mention the midweek match last week and previewing a light preview, I guess, if you will, this upcoming match tomorrow against Barcelona as well. Before we get into that, please like, subscribe, comment, share, all that goody stuff that everyone else talks about that are content creators. Just, anything helps. So please like, subscribe, share, and whatnot. So going into this match, after the midweek match, the very tiring, the very entertaining, one of the most, if not the best, and most entertaining match of the Champions League season this far, that 3-3 insane tie with Barcelona away in Barcelona as well. It was a very demanding match, so much so Lautaro got hurt, a muscle injury. And it was just a match, one of the craziest matches for Inter that I can remember, which is crazy considering, that's kind of our mantra, Pazza Inter. But it was an absolute hell of a match. Two brilliant goals from Dumfries. Glad to have him back, with that high line that Barcelona plays. Having someone like him with speed and strength, once we beat that first person, to have to go direct over the top is a huge plus. Also, Thuram, with that brilliant goal that he had in the first 30 seconds of the match. It was nice to have both of them back, definitely. And just the response from the team, a lot of times when you go up 2-0 and then get punched immediately back down to 2-2 tie, it's tough to respond, but it was really awesome, especially away from home. Really awesome to see the response from the guys. So we thought that maybe there'd be a heavily rotation squad for this match against Verona. Wasn't sure what it would look like. And Inzaghi, he rotated the hell out of the squad. Bisek being the only player that featured in that match, played in that match, started that match against Barcelona, was the only one to start. We had Josep Martinez in goal, Bisek, De Vrij, Carlos Augusto along that back three, Darmian, Fratesi, Aslani, Zielinski, and Zalewski as left wing back, and Correa and Arnautovic up top. A risky move considering we were only 3 points behind Napoli, I guess 6 going into that final match day, going into the match since Napoli had played before us, but still in the race for the Scudetto. And so it was risky by Inzaghi, and it paid off, but just paid off. It was the contrast between this match against Verona and the insane, crazy match that we had against Barcelona on Wednesday. It's two. If someone would have asked or shown you these matches side by side, you wouldn't have known it's the same two teams, albeit one heavily rotated and not featuring the same players. But it was just an absolutely boring, terrible match. And hopefully this match is one that shows management, the type of work that we need to have done this off season, this summer, in the Mercato to improve the squad. There's quality in our backups, but it's not enough quality if we're going to be playing, 60 plus matches a season moving forward. It's got to be better from our backup players. So we'll kind of talk about the match. Really not much to talk about. This will be a rather short episode. We just mentioned the starters and early quick start from Inter in the ninth, or it was about the 6th or 7th minute. I think it was Carlos Augusto laid the ball off into the path of Arnautovic, who one touch lay off with Fratesi. Touch was a little off, but Arnautovic, the defender there, Valentini, for Hella Verona, outstretched arm, ball hits the hand, whether he knows it or not, the arm's out, thus making it a handling offense. I don't think anybody can say that it's not the right call. Like I said, his arm was out in an unnatural position. Granted, he didn't know much about it. You're going to get penalized for having your arm in that position. So it was the right call. And I think all of us were expecting Zielinski to be the one to step up and take it since he's taken penalties for us in the past and converted. But it was everyone's favorite backup for Hakan, Slani, stepping up to take it. And man, what a great penalty. It was, one of those just quick step up, hesitation right at the end, see where the keeper goes, and slotted it in the opposite side corner. It was a really well taken penalty, 1-0 in the ninth minute. And I think maybe at this point we all thought, well, yeah, we'll get two or three and won't have to worry about uh, bringing in any starters or anything. They'll have to be rested for that match against Barcelona. And I don't think we've kind of foresaw what kind of game was going to happen the next 80 some minutes. It was an absolutely terrible match. There's not really many chances. I have not much written on notes here as far as chances. Arnautovic had a few decent chances, half chances, I guess, with some headers that he failed to connect on. Aslani had a great chance in the 43rd minute, I believe it was, of the first half with a shot about 25 yards outside of the box that went just over. But other than that, there really wasn't in the second half. There was a handful of Verona chances. They had a good chance in the first half too. I think it was Sar that found his way after a counterattack where they went down the right side. The man got behind Zalewski and found a through ball into Sar, who had a decent shot. His angle was tight. Luckily, Joseph Martinez was cutting down the angle and his position was there. But other than that, there really isn't much to talk about this game. I would say it's probably one of the worst performances from Inter this season. I wouldn't say it's the worst, but one of the worst. And it was just bad quality football that whole match. And it sucks if people chose this weekend to try and kind of get into Serie A because I watched that Napoli Lecce game before, and if our game was bad, that game was even worse. The quality from Lecce was just absolutely terrible. Napoli, it wasn't much better. And today that later on having to watch, if you watched a doubleheader, watch the Inter Verona game, it was not great at all. So bad quality all around in those last two matches from the first and second place squads in Serie A. But like I said a few weeks ago, with the positioning we're in and everything, can't really complain about performances at this stage. It's all about the results. So we got the 1-0 result. We only had to bring in, a couple starters. Acerbi came on for Zalewski late on. I think it was the 84th minute. Mkhitaryan in like the 65th minute came on for Zielinski. Di Marco came on for Jan Bisek. And then Taremi came on for Arnautovic. But all of them got less than 30 minutes run in. It was closer to 25 for Mickey and Di Marco and like 5 or 6 for Acerbi. So can't complain about how the game turned out. We got 3 points. We got to rest all of our starters. I think Çalhanoğlu, Lautaro, and Pavard were in the stands, not featuring. It's yet to see if Lautaro will play. He did post yesterday a post on Instagram of him working out, doing some sort of back exercise, and it had like a battery loading thing. And Thuram commented with a clock. You read between the lines, it's maybe him racing against the time. Maybe he's saying, he's loading. He will be ready Tuesday to play. It's interesting. Maybe would rather see Taremi come in from the start and Lauti maybe get the last 45 minutes if we're needing to chase a goal or something like that. But this is a huge match, and you want your best and all your best players to be playing in it. So we'll see. Haven't seen any news or anything today on Monday regarding Lautaro's status. So we'll just have to see what the lineups are tomorrow. Uh, it's going to be a game that's going to drain our guys. They're going to be absolutely knackered, I guess, as the English maybe say, after this match. I think it's going to play out very similarly to how the match on Wednesday played out. Barcelona is going to attack. We're not going to be able. They're averaging in the Champions League like 3 goals a match, so we're not going to be able to prevent them from scoring. It's just if we can prevent them from scoring multiple goals. If somehow this game ends where Barcelona has 0 goals, it'll be you're hearing it now. It'll be the best defensive performance anybody has seen this season from a squad. I don't think we're going to be able to keep them out, and we're going to have to put goals on the board as well. They can be got. One thing we saw that adjustment in the second half, and I think we were trying it in the first half, it just wasn't coming off against Barcelona, was when you get past that first line of the high press. So whether it be, Rafinha, Lamine Yamal, or whoever, Ferran Torres, Lewandowski, the midfielders the first midfielder that's pressed all the way high to Pedri. When you get past that first line, there's so much space in behind Barcelona. And that's where Dumfries came in really big for us. And I think a player like Carlos Augusto would be big. Granted, he played the whole 90 for the match against Verona. So I think we're going to see Di Marco start the match, which is going to be tough because he got torched time and time again. But if you also saw later in that match against Barcelona when we hunkered down into a 5-4-1, I think that kind of contained a little better that right side of Barcelona, a lot better, 5-4-1 versus the 5-3-2. So we'll see if Inzaghi chooses with Lautaro maybe not being fully fit to start the match in that 5-4-1 with Thuram being the only striker ahead. I don't know. I don't see Inzaghi doing that, but it's interesting to note that the last 10, 15 minutes, we kind of shut down Barcelona. They had some chances, but it was nothing too crazy like it was the first 60 minutes of the match. And utilized Dumfries' pace on the wing. I Zielinski didn't look great against Verona, but yet again, no one did, and he was playing with a bunch of rotational players, Fratesi and Aslani in the midfield as well, Zalewski on the other or on the outside of them. So it's not like he had Bastoni and Di Marco and Çalhanoğlu around him. So it's tough to really compare. I think this is a match because we're going to have to beat that first person on the high press that Zielinski would be great for because he gives us that dribbling out of pressure ability. But we know who it's going to be. It's Mkhitaryan, death taxes and Mkhitaryan getting the full 90 of every match, it seems like. I'm sure it pained Inzaghi not to be able to roll Mkhitaryan out there against Verona from the start and give him 90 minutes. But with all jokes aside, that's what we're going to see. So we're going to have him and Barella beating that first man, Çalhanoğlu, Bastoni. He had a couple opportunities in the first half. You could see him looking up to try and spray it over, and whether it was just a lack of quality ball that didn't make it there, or he was just too slow and too late finding that pass. If we shore that up, there's going to be acres of space out there behind. So we'll see. I really don't know how this match is going to go. As an Inter fan and being at the San Siro, I think and I know we can beat this Barcelona team. I don't think there's any doubts about it. We have quality on our side. They have quality. It's a more even match than I think people foresaw. It's going to be taking advantage of our chances, and Jan Sommer is going to have to be big again. It's going to be a match that's going to drain these guys, not more physically, not so much, but more mentally. Now, this is a match, if you remember that 2010 semifinal against Barcelona at the Camp Nou against, some say, the best squad ever assembled. That was a mentally draining match for Inter. You lose 1-0, you still advance on the tie, but the entire 90 minutes, especially being down 10 man early in the match with Thiago Motta getting sent off from Sergio Busquets acting, it's a mental match at that point when you're playing deep and you can't lose mental concentration. These guys physically should all be there, although it's been a long season. It's mentally where it's going to come into, knowing where to fill those gaps, fill those holes, knowing how to come and sag on the left to help Di Marco out with Yamin Lamal, or Lamine Yamal. Sorry, I always forget how to pronounce his name. I think the Paramount Plus commentator did as well a few times. But it's going to be mentally all these people, and that's why players like Acerbi are going to be important. Mkhitaryan with all of his experience, Çalhanoğlu, Barella, Bastoni. It would be great to have Pavard back, but it doesn't look like we're going to have him back. These veteran players, Jan Sommer, that we have on the pitch, have been in situational games like this. They've played matches like this, and they have to make sure everyone around them on the pitch is mentally turned on for the full 90. So that's going to be, if we mentally can be turned on and know where we need to be for the full 90. I can see us going through in this match, but that has not always been the case this season. We've mentally lapsed a few times in big matches this season. Juventus is the one that comes off the head the most, being up 4-2 and allowing them to come back into the match with mental lapses of concentration. Um, Even Barcelona match, this last one, being up 2-0 and let them go in and tie the game at 2-2. Some of those were mental lapses of concentration, and some of them was just a bit of quality that Barcelona possesses. So we're going to have to see a completely different performance than what we saw against Verona at the weekend. But we rotated heavily, so I don't foresee that being an issue. And it's everything to play for. This is what a lot of these players have been talking about all season, the chance to potentially play in the Champions League final again. So these players are going to go out and give it their all. And I don't think it's going to be a game where you see everybody, like Mourinho said, they left blood on the pitch. That's why they turned on the sprinklers. And I think we're going to have to see players leaving blood on the pitch and diving into tackles and just leaving it all out there. So it's all to play for. As Interisti, these are the moments we want. And, the Serie A, the Scudetto race is still apparent. Like I said last week, Napoli have an easy schedule, but that doesn't necessarily mean that these games are going to be easy. They're going against Genoa next weekend, a team that safe from relegation, I'd say, but they still have some quality. There's players like Pinamonti who maybe would want to help Inter out and put the pressure on. Napoli haven't looked great the past few weeks, so that's an interesting match to see. Parma and Cagliari is the other 2 games that Napoli have. Parma, led by former Inter player, still Interista, Christian Kivu. He's not going to let, even if they are safe in salvation, I truly believe Kivu will put out a strong squad and have these guys motivated to take it to Napoli because he's an Interista. And then, their last game, Cagliari, if they're still fighting for being safe from relegation that last match day. I said it last week, Davide Nicola, I've said it many a times on this podcast throughout the season. That is not a manager you want to play if his team is fighting to save off relegation. So, they're easy matches on paper, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as, we think. And this weekend, we also have a semi-easy match, Torino. Not saying that's going to be easy, but would love to see us go out and get the 3 points there as well. Don't know if we'll rotate as much as we did against Verona since we won't have a midweek match after that. So it should be a decently strong squad against Torino. And then we have Lazio and Como, 2 tough games as well. So it's still all to fight here for these boys, for the Nerazzurri, for us as fans. And we just got to support the guys, regardless of if we come up trophy this season or if we win, the Champions League and the Scudetto. I don't view this season as a failure. It's a season unparalleled, unprecedented. There's never been a season where people have played this many matches. We've dealt with injuries. We've dealt with anything that's gotten thrown with us. It's been such a crazy season. And we've dealt with uncertainty within the club with Oak Tree coming in and not investing in the winter mercato. So it's just been a crazy season. And we got to get behind the boys for the rest of it. And hopefully, they repay our faith with a trophy or 2. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, it's not going to be a pretty big podcast this week. There's not much to talk about that Verona match. It was a pretty relatively boring match. One thing I do want to say, Duda, I don't know how he said or did not get a red card in that match. Should have easily been sent off. Don't know how it didn't happen. I think the referee had a fairly decent match. I think, VAR for 20 minutes or for however long. It was a long look at the VAR for the handling, and I think that was pretty obvious. But other than that, and then the Duda not being sent off, he did a good thing or a good match. But yeah, I think that was a bad mistake not sending Duda off. But yeah, that's all I have for this week, guys. Like I said, please like, subscribe, comment, and tell me what your predictions are for the match against Barcelona tomorrow. As always, guys, Forza Inter, and let's go out and beat those Catalonians.